right. Hello, loves. It is really good to be able to hang out with you and do another POC live show for The Forest Demands Its Due. As usual, we will start off with the non-spoiler stuff, and then we will transition into spoilers after the introduction and any commentary and things like that. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below if you're coming from the future to enjoy this, and or in the chat if you are with us live. I'm going to take a quick second here just to just to make sure that we're actually up and running, that things are all good. So let me hop on over to my channel and welcome everybody who is hanging out. If you have read the book, let me know in the comment section, or I guess the chat section or whatever, your thoughts, because we're going to get into it. I am quickly checking right now just to make sure that there aren't any issues with the video on the channel. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's showing up. Hopefully we are all good, which means I can do the non-spoiler parts of this. You know, we're going to talk about the basics, let you know the general thoughts, all that good stuff. And then if you're interested in reading it, you can either read and come back or listen to what we have to say once we get to the spoiler section. This one was voted on by the YouTubes. So I am pretty excited about this, and I do really hope a bunch of people ended up enjoying it. Yeah, and I will say, I don't know how long we're going to be on today. I'm a little low energy. I've been doing a bunch of live shows for the besties, and so yeah, I had just hopped off doing that, and now we're here and we're going to talk about this. But shameless plug, if you do want to help support the channel and hang out with me more, you can head on over to Patreon, become a bestie, and we are hanging out more often, all that good stuff. Anyway, The Forest Demands Its Due. So we have our main character, Douglas, who it sounds like he's 17 years old, and he has a tragic backstory, and him and his mother come to Winslow, Vermont, where the Regent Academy is located, to kind of start anew so that he can kind of forget his past and, you know, have a new future. But he could care less about what the academy puts out for people, because I guess it's like a super prestigious school that makes amazing people and this, that, and the other. And he's all like, I don't care. I just want to start over. And so while he's there, he learns of the spooky forest nearby and questionable things that are happening, especially when he witnesses somebody being very harmed, possibly murdered, or I guess I don't know if murder is the right term, but killed. And nobody believes that. Nobody knows what he's talking about. Everybody seems to have forgotten except him and somebody else, and that ends up pulling him into the whole story, the whole thing going on. I ended up finishing this today. I read a good chunk of it yesterday, and then this morning I ended up finishing it. That's normal. I always read books the day before our live show, so it's really fresh in my mind. But unfortunately, that means that I don't have the time to fully sit in all of my thoughts. So I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this, but I did enjoy it for the most part. Like, I had a pretty good time. There were some, I don't know, part of me wants to say there are some YA elements that you get. Again, Douglas is a 17-year-old. But the YA tropes that I personally dislike, the, you know, kid comes to save the day and they have to worry about getting grounded trope. It wasn't like super prevalent in this one, so that's a nice element, or non-element, I guess. It does say or classify itself as a dark academia, and I don't know if I would agree with that, because the story, although it does take place at the Regent Academy here and there, it does seem to mostly focus on kind of the history of this little town and the forest that the title is based off of, the force that demands and seduce. And so, yeah, the school element was there, but not enough to really be a dark academic, or yeah, a dark academic book in my personal opinion, because I feel like that has to be more prevalent in the overall story. Oops, sorry, let me just move this out of the way. I was just editing the wrap up video for March and it just finished. So I'll be uploading that. So stay tuned if you are interested. I have several videos actually. Oh, I know we're off track. I'm sorry, but I have several videos that are edited and almost ready to go. I just have to schedule them and I was waiting for this. So stay tuned. There's some fun stuff. Anyway, I was talking about dark academic. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Like I said, I like this for the most part. I think my final rating though, like I'm in the 4-star range, but the final rating, I feel like I need to sit on it a little bit longer. This is an LGBTQIA plus book, as our main character is gay, I believe, and then there is a bisexual love interest, and then there is obviously the kind of horror aspect to it as well. What else can I talk about that is spoiler free? I feel like that's one of the problems that I always get into with the live shows, is I'm always just so freaking excited to get into the spoilers. But we're not quite there yet. I'm gonna try and think of some more useful stuff. It is all single perspective, right? Am I making that up? It is all from Douglas's perspective. And we do have some cool elements, again, stuff that I want to mention more in the spoiler part. And there is a romance element to it that was pretty enjoyable. I actually really liked it. And characters young, a little bit of family, not too much. I don't know where else to go from there. Yeah, I guess that is the non-spoiler part of things. So I guess right before we switch over to spoilers, let me know what your thoughts, like, have you read it? Do you want to read it? You know, are you interested hearing the little bit that I've talked about it? Yeah, let me know in the, I keep wanting to just say comment sections. I'm so used to filming videos and not live streams, even though we're doing more of those. But yeah, I'm also a mess, so forgive me. Forgive me as I am trying to, yeah, because this is it's not my third live show today, but it's my third live something, because I started off with a book club and then I did the live show for the besties, and now I'm here with you guys. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any things to say to people who haven't read it, speak now or forever hold your peace before we go into spoilers. I'm gonna give it, I should do like a little like countdown timer. It would be cool to do all that kind of stuff when you do live streams, to have just like the different screens and the, I'm not that fancy yet. We're just here to talk about books. Like I am not a pro, but I guess there's no more holding back. It is time to get into the spoilers. So tell me your thoughts on the book. Spoiler full. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think? Okay. So I'm going to be honest with you. I ended up listening to the audiobook and I feel like a little bit of the beginning part was a blur almost. Like I almost feel like I'm kind of missing a little bit. Once we got into the school and he's kind of dealing with everything that's being situated, because, right, here I am losing myself. How do I talk about this? Because he's in this school right? And we know that something has happened before. And part of me's all like, did they tell us about this beforehand, or are we uncovering this? Because I ended up rereading part towards the latter half. And then the beginning part, I was just all like, no, I feel confident. Now I'm sitting up here like, did I miss something? Did we get that much of a setup? Especially when I realized that it was being uh, advertised as a dark academic story. I was all like, was there more time in the school than I realized? Because as far as I'm aware, like he's at the school, he's like dealing with people. You get a little bit of bullying that happens, and then you have like you meet his mother, who is, you know, the nurse at the school, and then one of the kids gets hurt, and it's like a really big deal, right? To the point of not sure if he's going to survive or not. And I believe it even hints at the in the flat that the kid doesn't survive. I loved the aspect of no one remembering, right? Because at first I was kind of like, what's going on? And then it was kind of just like no one knew what he was talking about. And then we were kind of like just unsure. Part of me wishes that lasted a little bit longer before we uncovered what actually happened, because I feel like there's so many potentials that could happen in that scenario. It could be everybody's gaslighting him. It could be the actual story is, where something took that memory away from everybody. And it could also be he's misremembering things, especially because we keep getting hints at the thing that happened before, you know, the fire that happened before, and even the mother not fully believing whether or not he did it or not. Because I believe when he has, you know, this kind of breakdown when nobody is listening, and he's all like, I think it was like Patrick or Peter or something, and he's all like, Peter's missing, like he was sitting right there. That, I don't know, that was just a strong moment for me specifically. Like I was all like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm interested in seeing where things go. I also like the idea of the school, like this, not the school, sorry, the forest, the big spooky forest right next to the school. I think that is a really good element. And I kind of wish we had a little bit more of exploring that and playing around with that spooky element, because there's just so many possibilities that could be there with that. And I feel like, I don't know, I guess I feel like the story kind of rushed into what it was actually about, which is fair, because I do know on the flip side, since the story was more about this, you know, this curse and trying to break the curse and understanding all of the things with the curse, it makes sense that we would kind of jump into that instead of like dilly-dallying. But those elements were ones that I really liked. So part of me just wanted to sit in that longer. And that's something that I feel a lot with horror stories in general. And part of me wonders if I would have a different experience if I wasn't listening to the audiobooks for horror, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of those moments get rushed more than I want them to be. And that's where I'm all like, well, maybe if I was just reading it with my eyeballs, I could probably myself put a pause on those moments and stretch them out more. But I've also read or listened to audiobooks for horrors that stretched it out narratively, and that's what I'm looking for, and that doesn't happen very often, unfortunately. But yeah, I did like, once we got into the interactions between Douglas and the love interest, I was pretty interested in that. Again, it seemed like it happened pretty quick. He doesn't get attacked, right? He ends up in the forest a couple of times. Oh, the sleepwalking aspect of the book, right? Like, is this just me? But the sleepwalking aspect was also pretty cool. And again, I feel like it was brought up, but not explored as much as I wanted. Because he not only ended up in the forest because he just went there and he got in trouble, then he woke up randomly in the forest because he kept sleepwalking in there. And then I don't know if that happened just once or twice, but then we also have the final big moment after he's had this, oh my God, somebody's missing and everybody is acting like they can't remember him moment. He ends up interacting with that bully, right? And the bully brings him into the forest, but he gets attacked instead of him. I kind of like that aspect, especially later on when it brings us back or re-mentions it for him, Douglas, as a character, and how everything progresses. I think that was actually kind of cool. But that is when we end up meeting the love interest, and that is right before he kind of gets pulled into the whole mess. I do feel like this book, this probably would have been a good point to make in the non-spoiler section, since we are in spoilers. If you're popping in, because I do see we have people like coming in and coming out and stuff. If you are just popping in, we are already in the spoiler section. But I do, oh no, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about something. Oh no. Yeah, me trying to stay on top of all of the things when I'm already in this kind of weird headspace today. Good luck with that, girl. Yeah, I wished that there was more of something. I was hoping it would just come to me. I was hoping that repeating that would just give you the answer that I'm trying to say here. I feel like the book, it would have been nice to have said this before the spoiler part, but I do feel like the book kind of was just doing a lot. Like, if I'm being honest, again, I like this for the most part because I liked the ideas that it brought up and where it was going, and where it actually went was very interesting. But I just feel like there were so many small, really cool moments that were brought up and weren't as strong of a part of the actual story for me to fully enjoy or engage with them as much as I wanted. And I don't know if that's just me. Like, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But like, there was just these little things, like I had mentioned, the sleepwalking, the interacting with the forest before really understanding what it was about, the people not remembering things. I almost wish there was a smaller instance either mentioned beforehand or, something smaller that he caught on to before this bigger event, so that it had some weight and that we had a like hint of it before the actual moment or something. Like, I just wanted more from all of these moments, and there was just so much going on, which I appreciate in general because I like the ideas. But I don't know, I also at the same time didn't want the book to be longer. Like, I'm not out here being all like, oh no, I wanted the book to be longer. I just wanted these threads to be tied in a little bit more, I guess. But I don't know if that makes sense for this book necessarily. So I don't know. I am interested to hear your thoughts on that, specifically. But for me, that's kind of where I'm feeling. But again, continuing with more spoiler stuff, because I do see we have some new people. Hey, welcome to the live show. I would love to hear your thoughts on this book. What did you rate it? I'm sitting in 4 stars so far. We are in the spoiler section of this. But yeah, so he then ends up in this contract almost with the head of the school, who ends up being obviously an important part of this whole entire story, because he's I almost want to say kingmaker, because that's one of the things. Yeah, the Regent Academy is king making and makes really important people, and he's part of that. He dragged this kid in, gave him a second chance, and the mother's super excited about it. He's, again, as we mentioned before, just like, I'm trying to get by. Like, maybe I am just trying to survive. And then they find out that he could remember everything. That scene with him and the headmaster or whatever, and the kids, and him just being so nonchalant about it. He's all like, oh yes, yeah, you saw this. Oh, by the way, oh, here's a monster. Like, okay, now we need your blood, because I think they did like a little offering or something for him to officially be, I'm not sure, like to officially make him part of something. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not 100% sure what that blood offering part of that was. Do you guys know? Like, am I missing something? Because I remember it happening and being me being all like, oh, he's magically tethered to this agreement that he's making. But the headmaster had no control over that. And he was still an outsider. He wasn't like officially put as part put part as wow. He wasn't officially added to their agreement with the forest, which also I guess I didn't fully understand, which is on me, but I didn't fully understand their agreement with the forest, right? Because later on we find out that the curse is based off of, you know, the god and the lover and the horrible things that had been done, yada yada yada. And the things in the forest were part of the god and, you know, revenge and all of that. And so he wanted them to be punished, right? Even to the end, right? He did want them to be punished, even though I guess part of him was hoping that the monsters at least were kept in check, but the things that he controlled, I forgot what they were called, they were kind of there to still punish this town, this village, and all of that stuff. So it seems kind of weird that they had that agreement, because when Douglas was brought in to join and did that little sacrifice, they gave him that tea, and then he gets brought in to talk to one of those like creature things. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. Yes, we are talking about The Forest Demands Its Due. We are in spoiler territory. We're still kind of early on, but I am hinting back and forth. So if you haven't read it, be aware. Otherwise, I would love to hear your rating. I'm currently at a 4 stars. I finished it this morning though, so sitting on it. But I am currently talking through some of the things that have happened and trying to, you know, figure out. And oh, you read it. All right. Oh, sorry. I'm looking over there because that's where I can see. That's where I can see your comments. But yes. So we're talking about when Douglas kind of gets pulled into this whole, not just the curse, but like, I guess the agreement, because I'm personally a little unsure of what was all behind the agreement, because as it was happening, I didn't question it. I was like, oh, they have this agreement with the forest, yada, yada, yada. But as I had just finished it, pause. I guess I realized this would be a good book to reread, because there's like different elements to it that I wonder if I would, or not wonder, I'm already doing this, but I feel like I would see in a different light based off of what I know having read it now. So I don't know. Let me know what you think on that one. But yeah, I don't know how much of it is like a plot hole situation, or if there is some like deeper meaning that I'm missing. Okay, so you're at a 3.5 stars. Really like the ideas, the characters, but everything felt a bit too rushed. Yeah, I was saying earlier that I felt like too much was going on, and that I wanted a lot of those things to, I don't know how to say it exactly, but to be woven in a little bit better than it was, because there were so many cool elements. Granted, I did like the direction that the actual story ended up going. I just feel like there were all of these threads that were lost, which is why I'm kind of just at a 4 stars. And I'm not 100% sure. Right. But yeah, I'm thinking low 4 stars. I guess I'm between low 4 stars and solid 4 stars. But yeah, so the plot hole question is, and if you guys know, help a sister out. Because until I reread this, I guess I'm not sure. But it kind of set up, as I was first reading through, this moment made it feel like they had this big agreement, right? The school and all of the cursed people had this big agreement. And then we find out later it's more of a curse than this agreement. And so now I'm all like, was that an agreement with them, or did I misunderstand it? Like, why would they pull somebody into this thing just so they can try and, I don't know, like those two things confuse me, I guess. I don't feel like they go hand in hand very well. My personally, I feel like a curse isn't, well, I mean, I guess you can have an agreement with a curse, but it didn't seem like that unless I'm just like missing something. Like, did I just like read over a part of it? I don't know. But yeah, because later on, like we hear the God friggin' talking about the curse and still being angry and still, even though not wanting to have these, you know, negative manifestations going any further, still didn't want to forgive the people of this town for what they did. Which I like that messaging. I did appreciate the idea behind it. I think that's my biggest thing about this book is I love so many of the ideas and the concepts and what was brought up. Um, and there were some pretty cute moments with like the relationship. I did think it was funny when the one guy, not Douglas, but the love interest was like, "Oh, you want to know why I'm all dressed up?" Because he was about to go on a date. He was all like, "I won't if you say anything." I was like, that's such an awkward way to try and get somebody to show interest in you. But it was also kind of cute. And then especially the scene where they kind of were together. I forgot when it was. I think it was when the school was attacked, and after Douglas ended up using his magic or whatever, he was all worn out, and they both stayed up, and so they kind of like laid together and had that kind of moment. I thought that was also pretty cute. I thought it was just a curse by the god. What agreement do you mean? Okay, thank you, thank you. So the what I'm talking about, where I'm like kind of questioning, is when Douglas found out that or was kind of pulled into the office, and he was the teacher, was not teacher, the headmaster or whatever he was telling him about what was going on. It kind of seemed like it was being put forth as this like agreement that the school had with the forest, because they brought in that like monster and had him, did he like cut a finger or something and like feed it to the I don't know if I'm like, am I remembering something completely wrong? Like, am I insane? And then after, he gave him tea that knocked him out and made him talk with those creatures that they had some sort of agreement with. Like, I don't I feel like I'm missing something with that, because at first, when I was first reading it, I thought that they had some like, oh, you have to feed this to, I guess the other reason, okay, let's dial this back so that I'm making full sentences here. But I think the other reason why I had this vibe was when Douglas was brought by the bully into the forest, right? The bully's all like, I don't like you, so I'm going to sacrifice you or whatever. And so he brings him into the forest, but the bully gets killed instead. And is his name like Everett? I don't know. That just randomly came to me. Everett, yeah. Everett is there, I believe. And Douglas sees, I keep forgetting what they're called because there's two monsters. Oh, it wasn't explained. There's two monsters, and I guess the monster takes the bully's body, and they have this kind of exchange as if they're in some sort of agreement, right? Like, you get to do whatever. And there was some sort of agreement. But then, obviously, as we learn more, it's this big curse. And so I just had this weird confusion. I had this confusion is what what I was getting at, because I was like, wait, I thought, why would they be like, hey, we want you to help save us from this curse, so give this monster your blood and drink this tea so you can talk with the thing that has cursed us? I don't know. It was kind of bizarre to do it that way. So yeah, I think maybe they needed that cut so he could talk to the creature in his head. Oh, maybe. I wonder though, because I guess I don't remember exactly when he started hearing the forest was it after that? Because I know he walked into the forest a couple of times, or not a couple, at least one time before all of this happened. And I thought that was because he had this weird connection with the forest, like the forest was talking to him. But it could have been that where it like officially did something. And yeah, I guess it wasn't explained. And here I am trying to fill in. Maybe that's more of a plot hole than anything else, because that was a little bit confusing. But I do think, I guess I'm starting to lean a little bit more on a low 4 stars. I still really like the idea and had a good time reading it, so I'm feeling we'll probably keep it in there. But there were some things that just wasn't as fitting as I wanted it to be. I think I liked, like I said, I did like the romance. It was cute and sweet, and there were a couple of just like moments. It wasn't my favorite thing. Like, I wasn't super invested in it necessarily, but I support it, I guess. Like, I don't know how to describe that. I was having this conversation with a bestie of mine when it comes to like consuming different kinds of like romances or stories. And you have the ones where you put yourself into it, you have that connection. Like, I didn't get that with this, but it was kind of like on the outside looking in, being like, oh, that's so cute. And that's kind of how I felt with it. Okay, so you think the bully tried to kill Jim by leaving him, or yeah, in the forest. God was trying to protect him since he was dragged into the whole thing and killed the bully for him. I thought Everett killed the bull, or was it? I guess maybe it was the forest god who did it. And the forest was talking to him before the god explained it. I think that it was to protect him. Yeah, because he even mentioned that in the end. He was all like, he said something about, I could see that you were good and you reminded me of my lover or something like that. And so he was trying to protect him. Just felt like a bad thing at the time. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm wondering more and more if that's more. It's a lot of mores. I am wondering more now if that was more of a plot hole scenario where things like setting up different possibilities and then not fully explaining them. I do think it was kind of, it is kind of interesting, or that idea is cool to have it seem that way and then have the twist turn into something else. But I don't know if the twist itself really explained the misdirection, or if I'm just missing something and I like put too much thought into things. Because then there was also another area that I thought was nice that wasn't explored or developed in a way that I think it could have been like super solid, was when those monsters, the wild one, the hateful monsters, separate from the ones that the god controls, as we found out later, when they attacked the town slash school, and I guess they consumed more of the people in it. That could have been a really cool element to have had in a slower way. Like, I feel like there should have been more lead up to the actual thing so that we could have had a bigger impact. Because there was the scene where the two of them, I think it's like Everett and Douglas. Am I saying the wrong name for Douglas and the groundkeeper's son, Everett? Okay. Where Douglas and Everett end up in the town for some reason, and the waitress, I think, says this cute flirty thing to Everett or something, and then later on when he's in the forest, he sees that she was attacked. I feel like like that was kind of nice, but it would have been even better if we had kind of known that she went missing beforehand. Like, I feel like we should have had hints of those things where you can like, oh no, and then big reveal. I don't know. Maybe I'm maybe I'm being too picky. I don't think everything was explained well. Agree. The perversions. Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. And there were so many good ideas. Yes, just not enough time with them. That's like my biggest issue with the book, is so many great ideas that were put out, but just not crafted well enough to, and like part of me goes like, yeah, I do kind of like the story that we ended up with, even though I feel like I would have preferred if so many other things had happened, or it would have been so much stronger if those different elements were weaved in better. But at the same time, like, I'm not, I guess, I don't know, maybe this is me benefiting of the doubt too much, trying to give the benefit of the doubt too much. But I also don't know the best way to have done that without making it really long and then making it kind of a slog. Because part of what I'm seeing is a lot of the stuff that I thought was really cool and that I wanted more of would have dragged out the intro. And there is a little part of me that appreciated that it kind of jumped into what the story was actually about. Again, which is why I think it's weird that it says, I believe it says on the flap, something about dark academia. I don't know. A dark academia mystery of murder and magic. Yeah, so like literally on the bottom section of the flap, it says that. And I'm like, but the story is a horror fantasy in a forest. Like it's about forest gods and monsters. Like, where is this dark academia you speak? Just because there's a school nearby doesn't make it that. So like, I do appreciate that it went to what it was actually about fairly quickly, but I guess I just really liked all of those other ideas, and in some ways not more, because I do think the forest idea is kind of cool. But I like those ideas, so I wanted them. In the acknowledgments, the author wrote he always wanted to write a fantasy since he was a kid, and he finally got to do it, and it felt like that. Yeah, he had all these ideas, and finally, yeah, I know. It's funny because there's part of me, tangent, there is part of me that really wants to like write a book. Like, I have so many ideas, I'm really excited about, blah 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 blah, but I'm afraid that I would fall into that category, that I would be like, oh, let me put in all of the things. Like, this really feels like I have all of these cool ideas and I just wanted to put them all into the same book, which is sad because like they are some pretty cool ass ideas. Okay, just want to put everybody, yep, I just wanted more of all of those things. Yeah, we're on the same page here, 100%. I do, okay. I feel like I'm interested in seeing what he writes in the future, because I wonder if, because again, so many good ideas, I wonder if having gotten out a lot of that stuff, if he'd be able to hone in and focus a little bit more in his next book. Like, granted, I don't know if he has a next book out already. I am just making the assumption that it's either, it's either about to be out or hasn't been out, or I don't know. I haven't looked into that. I feel like I'm almost making it worse. Now you know, and you want to do it all. I know, yeah, exactly. Now I'm having more of that now that I'm all like, oh, this is something that maybe I should start really working on, like crafting the ideas. And when I'm reading, I'm seeing that way more. Like, just like, oh, I don't want to do that, but I know I probably would. But I also feel like it's causing me, I don't know, that I'm having that desire to give the benefit of the doubt, because I'm like, could I do a better job? That's super off topic. I'm sorry. The only thing I didn't like was that he took away his mom's memory. Oh, that's a good point. Okay. I get why he did it, but his poor mom has no idea about anything, and I don't think she would have chosen that. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's funny, I had really, that's a thing that I had very conflicting feelings about as it was happening. And I was almost like, is he also going to end up doing that to his, like, I feel like because he did that to his mom, there's no way of knowing whether or not he would do that to like Everett, the love interest in the future as well. And I don't know if I could, like, I'm sure Everett would know that he made his mom forget at some point if they stayed together. I don't know if I could trust my partner knowing at any moment he could just make me forget everything because he randomly thinks that that's the right thing to do, whether or not I agree in it or not, right? Oh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Like, I know why he did it because he's like a god. And I mean, like, I guess there is the idea that because Everett knows, like, he did it with his mom because his mom doesn't know anything that had happened. Like, she can't remember anything. Also, another thing is when he brought a bunch of the people back. Part of me almost would have preferred if he had brought back all of their memories, but then it would have been friggin' awful. Like, because I guess they all died in horrible ways. So maybe I guess it's better that he brought them back instead of their memories. Um, but yeah, since his mom didn't know anything and he was gonna, I guess, live forever now that he's a god, I kind of understand it. And then there with Everett knows what he's getting into. So theoretically, he wouldn't do that to Everett because Everett knows, right? Like there's not a reason to save him from whatever because he knows what he's getting into. But as if I was Everett, there would be a small part of me that'd be like, we get into a big fight or something happens or, like whatever, he thinks I'll be better, this, that, or the other, but I'm perfectly happy the way things are. Like that would be hard to deal with. Like knowing that somebody in your life could just take away your memories at any whim. I don't know. Maybe but that really that would put a damper on things. He brought some people back, but a lot of other people died that he didn't know, and he just didn't bring them back. Yeah, it kind of seemed like that too. Like he went into the ground and was all like, oh, these 3 people that I know, and then the 4 people that I heard of, the old students who were like me. But they implied that had been going on for a really long time. So there were so many people. There were so many people that he was just all like, and the rest of you, oh well. Like, I would have thought that he would have tried to bring back the memories of more people than anything else. Because I feel like that's the saddest part about what happened is like not only did these people die, but they were just forgotten. Like I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, he would definitely delete his memories after 5 to 10 years. That's how it feels. Like, it feels like he'd be like, oh, yeah, you'll be so much happier. Him trying to be selfish or selfless and end up being selfish by making that decision for him. Maybe he forever can't because he's from a founder family. Oh, that's a good point. I forgot, even though I was hinting at that with the whole tea moment, is that there was that special thing about the founders and that they couldn't forget things the same way that the rest of the people did, which is again why his mom didn't know anything that had happened. But again, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I think memories are really important, but that one, like, that hurts my heart. All the people forgotten. Like, oh, I love that idea though. Like, it's a cool concept to explore, the idea of 100% losing. That reminds me of another book that I heard of recently. I think it's called like The Memory Police or whatever. Completely different book, but it's all about the idea of just randomly forgetting things in your life, and like some people still remember it, and I think that's a very cool concept. So it was nice seeing it in here, even though I don't feel like even though it was a huge part of the actual story, I don't feel like it was as explored as much as I would like. And I feel like all of those comments with all of the cool things in here really is the, like, he was just putting in all of these cool things and not really focusing on it. And that's like a really good learning lesson. Okay, what else happened at the end? I think that was the main thing. He took and then they were kind of not happily ever after, but it was just like he came back and they were going to stay together. Fixed the problem. Oh, him becoming the god. Yeah, no comments really too much about that. I think that was a cute and expected, YA fantasy outcome. Before that, the whole sister thing. Oh yeah. Oh no, she moved. away. I was gonna say, what happened to the sister after? I do think, again, another idea that was kind of cool that we didn't get much of was the fact that the sister lived in the forest for friggin' 3 years. 3 years? What? Like, I feel like at the very least, I don't know, I feel like it should have been less time. I feel like we should have gotten either more about that or from that if it really was a full on 3 years. Like, that's a long time. And then also, like, if she discovered that the forest itself was so small and it was pretty easy to navigate, why would she actually stay in the forest for the whole 3 years? Like, wouldn't she go back? Because apparently she was like weaponless and she had grown out of her clothes. Like, but she was still like in the forest for I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. um, if he writes other fantasy, I would still read it. He has some good ideas. Yes, 100%. That's where I'm at. Like, I would definitely read more from him. And I am hoping that his future books in general are a little bit more focused, right? Because again, the ideas are there. Like, I'm here for the ideas. The book itself, though, does need some work. And then, oh, the God thing, I like it. But he felt too easy to. Agreed. He's just a human and can just take all the powers of a god. Yes. Maybe he can only take part or something, but it was too easy like that. I think what the author was trying to do with that was make it like kind of easy to do, and also the consequence of, I wish I knew what the friggin' headmaster's name was, but the consequence of the headmaster doing it, because it was something that the headmaster could also do. Also, having there be no hint at like the fact that the headmaster came in and was like, pew, killing a god, right? Like, you had no hint at like that's something that could have been done. Like, that just came out of nowhere. It just was super random. But then also, I think to make it feel less like, oh, that was, like anybody could just do that, was tying him to the forest and like that location that now he can't leave. I don't know if that was enough, but I feel like that was to make it seem like a more difficult decision. But it didn't, I don't know, it didn't really feel like it. Like, the weight of it wasn't really there. The ease, it was still easy. And then it was kind of interesting having like, oh, this like full on kind of god character. We didn't get to feel the struggles and the difficulties that he had, but you got like a little comment of it when Douglas was the god and he was bringing back those three characters. Like, even for a god, it was hard, like trying to show that there's like limits to what the god could do, but it was like a little bit like after the fact. You did like the 3 years, but would have been better if it happened to Douglas. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it would be hard being there for 3 years. I think that's so I like the idea of it, but I didn't like the execution because it was just 3 years and like we didn't see any of it. We didn't get any more information. Like, it just happened. And I was all like, that's it? Like, you're not, and she was just like, yeah, I was here for 3 years. Like, I don't know. It threw me off in the context because it was just, again, a cool idea that wasn't explored, which I really feel like is the moral of the story. Lots of amazing ideas that just weren't explored. But like, I really appreciate a lot of that. I think I would have to sit a little bit longer on my rating. I am doubting myself at the moment. The god said he could lift the curse, but then he got shot, and when Douglas got the powers, he can't lift the curse. I didn't understand that. The god also made it seem like he couldn't. He was like, oh, I can't do anything. And then Douglas is all like, but I believe in you. And then he's like, all right, we're going to try and do stuff. And then, yeah, then he got shot. And then he was just all like, I want you to run away. The world's going to explode. I don't know, not explode, but like the world's going to be taken over by these things. Yeah, it was rushed. It was a little too easy. Lots of good ideas, not enough time. Yeah. But it was fun. It's fun in the sense that I'm excited for future things for him from him. Yes. My brain is starting to short circuit. But yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good discussion here for the forest demands its due. I also agree. Yeah, the several things felt pretty sudden and rushed and not fully fleshed out, but I definitely had a fun time reading it, even though the more I think about it, the more plot holes or issues I see with it. I did still enjoy it and would recommend it for most people. Granted, I probably should have said that earlier on when people who hadn't read it were still here. Um, yeah, I do need to think a little bit more on what my final rating is going to be. I don't know. I recently, a little bit of another tangent. I ended up reading a book that's not within arm's reach, unfortunately. The A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. I read that last month for the Besties Book Club pick, and that was another book that I have a long list of issues that I had with it, but I really enjoyed it for like the vibes and like the writing and stuff like that. And part of me was all like 3 stars initially for that one. And then the longer I sat on it, the more I was like, I really enjoyed the experience of reading it though. And I wonder how much this kind of falls into that for me, where the experience was good enough for it to hold a higher rating for me, even though the book itself, I don't know. But I guess I have to just sit on it a little more. And then I think I'm going to be talking about this in the future for a horror vlog for people who haven't read it. So thank you so much for going through this with me. This was a ton of fun. It was really nice going back and forth. That's my favorite part about these live shows. I'm, again, shameless plug, I am doing more live shows on my Patreon for the besties. I'm doing some for all of the besties, and then the book club besties, they get more. So if you are interested in hanging out with me more often, and mostly sprints and, you know, just chatting and, or whatever, you can check that out. There's also exclusive videos and audio newsletters. My brain just like totally went blank, and just like random updates and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was a ton of fun talking to you guys, and I really hope to make these things grow more so that we can have a, you know, more talking, more fun times, all of that good stuff. So I really appreciate you, and I will catch you in the next one. Until then, bye.